A routine traffic stop ends in a murder arrest. A law enforcement expert weighs in on the importance of this arrest and the example it sets. A car theft victim says charges were dropped against the teens accused of the crime. We pressed top prosecutors on why the suspects were not held accountable as this victim's car goes missing again. Then a step forward in finding a new Speaker of the House. A congressman representing Maryland gives us an inside look at the process happening behind closed doors.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 4.
More dysfunction tonight in a city in crisis. A new inspector general report finding the city failed to collect more than $44 million in bills over a 12-year period. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. And according to that report, that money the city missed out on, funds it will never be able to get back. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live in Baltimore to break it all down. Maxine?
Well, Kai, that failed collection was uncovered during an investigation into a company that complained that they had never been billed for more than 150 right-of-way permits in the city, and it turns out they weren't alone. It's yet another glaring example of dysfunction in Baltimore City.
We have to make sure that doesn't happen again.
An inspector general report out today finding the city failed to collect nearly $45 million of debt from 2005.
Safety, and we're also trying to get some clarity on what needs to be done, especially when it comes to what lawmakers could do to tackle this problem come January during the General Assembly session. Kai?
Mackenzie, will there be any discussion about juvenile crime?
Oh, I have no doubt that juvenile crime and the Department of Juvenile Services will likely come up tonight during this town hall, especially after we heard from City State's Attorney Ivan Bates in his strong words following the sentencing of Tavon Scott just yesterday.
We have to hold young people accountable when they do violent actions. This isn't something that any of us ever want to do, but unfortunately something we have to do. Hopefully the message is loud and clear. Young people, if you're going to grab an illegal handgun and use that illegal handgun, you can and you will go to prison.
So again, the town hall includes former Mayor Sheila Dixon, along with the president of Maryland FOP, Clyde Boatwright, and the former chief judge of Baltimore City Circuit Court, Wanda Hurd. It starts at 7 o'clock right here at the Bilingual Christian Church of Baltimore. We also invited Mayor Brandon Scott to participate in tonight's discussion, but he ignored our several invitations. The discussion is scheduled to take place over the course of 90 minutes. So if you didn't submit your questions already through our online form, there's still plenty of time for you to do so, or you can come down and we'll be sure to answer as many questions as possible. We're live in East Baltimore. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. That brings us to our question of the day. Do you have confidence in Mayor Scott to fix the issues facing our city? To make your voice heard, head to foxbaltimore.com/vote.
Last night, there was a shooting in Northeast Baltimore. Police say the 36-year-old victim took himself to a hospital around 11:45. Investigators aren't sure exactly what happened or where it happened, but anyone with information should contact city police. According to Baltimore police this year, 222 people have been killed in the city. 534 have been shot and survived. While those numbers are down from last year, the city is facing a spike in youth crime and a massive rise in car thefts.
Tonight, Baltimore police say a traffic stop led to the arrest of a man wanted for murder. Alexa Ashwell joins us live with newly obtained court documents and a law enforcement expert's take on this arrest. Alexa?
Yes, Mary. Baltimore police say that traffic stop happened in West Baltimore and was due to the tags not matching the vehicle. According to police, 37-year-old Kenneth McKay was arrested. An arrest warrant had been issued about a month ago. Now, according to those newly obtained court documents, McKay and another suspect are accused of murdering 38-year-old Daniel Taylor in the 1800 block of Pressbury Street back on September 7th. Law enforcement expert Jason Johnson says this arrest is an example of police now feeling empowered to enforce all laws in the books now that the city is seemingly moving away from the former city state's attorney's laxed prosecution policies, which included not cracking down on minor traffic offenses.
Law enforcement officers are encouraged to proactively go out and look for people who are involved in criminal activity, to interrupt what they're doing, in some cases to make arrests, even if they're not for serious offenses.
McKay now in custody. More on this case at 5. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Making headlines, Montgomery County police say a deadly triple shooting last night stemmed from a home invasion. It happened around 11 at a home in Silver Spring. Authorities arrived and found a man shot and killed. 2 other victims were taken to the hospital for treatment. We're told a suspect was arrested after crashing into an officer. No other details have been provided.
We are learning the University of Maryland's assistant football coach was arrested for DUI over the weekend. Court records show Kevin Sumlin was booked early Saturday morning in Florida by the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. The 59-year-old was released later that morning on bond. The Terps were off last weekend. The school has confirmed it is aware of the arrest.
The federal trial of former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby is set to begin a week from today. There will be a final pre-trial hearing Monday. Mosby is facing 4 federal charges, 2 for perjury and 2 for making a false statement on a loan application involving 2 vacation homes she purchased in Florida. Jury selection begins Tuesday, October 31st. Fox 45 News will follow the trial and keep you updated on air and online.
Stop the bad behavior. That's first and foremost. That's how we keep our kids safe.
Maryland joins 41 other states suing Meta, the dangers the state claims the social media company is having on children and how they're fighting to stop it.
A live picture of the U.S. Capitol in D.C. Republicans have once again nominated someone for Speaker of the House. Their pick, the chances of ending the Speaker's stalemate.
I'm Scott Thuman in Washington with new warnings for Americans about possible backlash here at home over the war in the Middle East.
And a frosty start for many this morning. Temperatures this afternoon up near 70 degrees, falling into the 60s for your PM commute. Going to need those sunglasses. Let you know when the next risk of rain arrives day by day, hour by hour. My Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
This is a live look at Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., as a new name is emerging in the race for Speaker of the House. Tom Emmer is the GOP's new pick to lead the House of Representatives. Republicans met behind closed doors today to whittle down a field of candidates, eventually landing on Emmer. The congressman from Minnesota won support from a majority of the GOP, but will need almost unanimous support to win the gavel, something the conference is still split on.
How concerned are you about his vote on same-sex marriage?
Very concerned.
Could you vote against him?
Yes.
Would you? Is there any way you would vote for him?
No.
Well, that Georgia Representative Rick Allen says he's voting no. Emmer can only afford to lose 4 votes from the GOP if he wants to become Speaker.
Today, the Israeli Defense Force continues its attacks on Gaza. The Palestinian Ministry of Health saying more than 700 civilians have been killed in just the last 24 hours. Israel saying those casualties are a result of Hamas launching rockets from highly populated areas and using human shields to hide their bases of operations. Hamas denies those claims.
Hostage negotiations continue right now. Hamas released 2 hostages overnight. This is footage of those hostages arriving at an Israeli hospital. 2 Americans and 2 Israelis have been released. More than 200 people are still being held captive. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken again calling for all hostages to be released during a UN meeting today.
We're grateful to Qatar, to Egypt, to the ICRC for helping secure the release of 4 of Hamas's hostages. But at least 200 more, and again, from many of our nations, are still in the grip of Hamas.
Among those released, an 85-year-old Israeli woman. She says she went through hell while she was captured. The grandmother was abducted by gunmen on motorbikes after they broke into her home on October 7th. She says she was taken through a series of tunnels and held against her will, but was not harmed and was provided medical care by her captors. She also accuses Israel of ignoring warning signs about a potential attack leading up to that initial assault.
The conflict in Israel is leading to concerns that the United States could become a target of terror attacks domestically and around the world. Sinclair's chief political correspondent Scott Thuman reports.
In New York Tuesday, the United Nations Security Council meeting to discuss the war in Israel and other worldwide threats. For the United States, the concern, does its allegiance to Israel put a target on America's back? A new Homeland Security memo to law enforcement warns escalations in the ongoing war almost certainly will increase the threat of terrorism and targeted violence in the U.S. President Biden also upping defenses.
One of the things that the president has done is directed his team, a Homeland Security team, to prioritize prevention and disruption of any emerging threats that could harm the Jewish, the Muslim, Arab Americans, or any other communities.
It was a close U.S. partnership with Israel that was part of the motivation for the devastating attacks on 9/11 that killed almost 3,000 Americans. Another new memo getting attention now too, this time a letter from San Diego's Office of Customs and Border Protection, warning individuals inspired by or reacting to the current conflict may attempt to travel to or from the area of hostilities in the Middle East via circuitous transit across the southwest border.
I'm concerned about a cell sitting inside America today. We just caught 18 people just last month on the FBI terrorist watch list coming across our border. More than 160 have done it this year, a record breaking. They could be sleeper cells right now in America.
Elsewhere, CNN is reporting Iranian-backed militia groups are planning to ramp up attacks in the Middle East, citing multiple drone strikes on U.S. forces in Iraq and Syria, as Iran seeks to capitalize on the backlash against America's loyalties. As a result, the State Department has issued travel advisories throughout regions around the Middle East and ordered some non-essential personnel to leave their posts. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
Fox 45 News is partnering with Magen David Adom for Sinclair Cares humanitarian relief for Israel. Magen David Adom is the Red Cross affiliate providing emergency medical aid for people in Israel. To help, scan the QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com. Here's a live look outside right now at our weather. The weather radar on the left side of your screen, of course, a shot of the Inner Harbor. A beautiful day out there in this fall. On the right, you see Towson at the top, and again, the weather radar on the bottom right. Some unseasonably warm weather right now. I don't call it unseasonably. I call it a break and a blessing on a day like this when we could be dealing with really chilly weather. But hey, we could have some changes, right?
That's right. Chief Meteorologist Jonathan Myers in with next. It started out very cold this morning. Is it really 72 right now?
It is.
Wow.
Yeah. Hard to believe.
Incredible.
We're like over 30 degrees warmer this afternoon. Isn't that crazy? 72 here in Baltimore after a low of 38 this morning. And for a lot of folks, the first frost of the season. So you're doing some scraping. I saw some pictures from the Eastern Shore where there's some frost, and I know north and west we had some frosty temperatures as well. Winds into the south-southwest at 5 miles now right now. Humidity is low at 30%, and that's kind of that desert effect, if you will. It get real cold overnight and then nice and warm in the afternoon. Helps really get those leaves changing. Our dew point, the measure of moisture in the air, crisp at 39 degrees. Toyota Eastern Harbor Skycam looking great. You see here sunshine now, but the clear skies overnight brought us to 38 here in Baltimore. Got down to 37 at Laurel, 35 there. Those frosty temperatures on the Eastern Shore. Elkton 35, Denton 35, 36 down toward Cambridge, and then 33 out Cumberland way this morning. But this afternoon, we are a full 7 degrees warmer than we were just 24 hours ago here in Baltimore. So shorts and short sleeves maybe even out this afternoon. Getting up to 72 right now. Had a high of 65 yesterday. So topping that again by about 7 degrees at this point. May even have a degree or two left in this before all things cool down overnight. Not as cold as this morning, though. 71 at Cockeysville. We're at 68 at Columbia and 70 at Laurel. Look at the HC radar right now. Nice and quiet. Few showers way up in New England. And another weather maker that's out to the west around Wichita and Oklahoma City. But really what's going to be happening in the next several days is we're going to keep that storm track off to our north. That's where the showers are going to stay. We're going to stay in the sunny and warmer weather. And we could, in fact, by the end of the week, even be approaching some record high temperatures around here. Now, out in the tropics, we're not done with tropical season yet. Tammy, it's a Category 1 hurricane, but looks like it impacts probably some cooler waters, ends up with some wind shear too, goes up toward Bermuda and eventually becomes extratropical. So rest of the afternoon forecast, you're going to need some sunglasses on that commute home. Temperatures falling from around 70 by 10 p.m. We're into the 50s, even again, some 40s by early tomorrow morning, but not the low to mid and in some cases upper 30s we saw this morning. And a nice warm up by tomorrow afternoon as we get up to 75 to 80 degrees. Should be in the mid to upper 60s. We're at 76 tomorrow, 79 Thursday. That could threaten a record as well on Friday with that high near 80, low mid 80s on Saturday. Some extra cloud Sunday. Could see a few showers potentially. Could last into Monday, and that's a big cool down by next Tuesday.
Jonathan, thanks. The Attorney General warning you to watch what your kids are doing online, the steps to make sure they aren't becoming victims on the internet.
I got them at my doctor's office. I was there the other day.
And on Liz Bonus, why you might want to think about getting the new COVID-19 vaccine, the new subvariant soaring as it spreads.
With Thanksgiving and Christmas right around the corner, people are getting ready for big family gatherings, of course. Medical reporter Liz Bonus is looking into the impact a new strain of COVID could have on your holiday plans.
Hey there, hello to you. The newest variant that many are concerned about here at this Kentucky Independent Living Facility is one now you might not have heard about yet. It is called HV.1. It's kind of a nephew on the family tree of Omicron, and its growth is soaring. The good news, the new COVID-19 vaccine does offer protection against HV1. It targets Omicron's descendants.
So this is its own vaccine itself. We're not boosting on an old version of the vaccine. So anybody that has not had a COVID vaccine within the last 2 months is a candidate for the new vaccine.
Those such as Patricia Cooper are choosing to step up to get this new vaccine. Well, thanks for being well. You're a great example.
Yeah, I was at 92 now, but Thursday I'll be 93.
The HV1 danger is that it appears to be spreading rapidly among those who come in close contact to others, sort of by working its way around your current immunity. HV1 made up just 0.5% of cases in late July. Now the CDC estimates it has overtaken EG5, which has been the dominant strain until now. HV1 is now responsible for 1 in 5 new cases. It's highly transmissible, but so far does not appear to be more severe, something that doesn't matter to Wilma Hancock. She too chose the COVID-19 vaccine anyway.
Because I've had it and I don't want it again.
Getting the vaccine can reduce viral load in your own body, so you're less likely to transmit HV1 or another variant to someone else. As for what you might feel if you catch it, its main symptoms include a cough, fatigue, runny nose, and congestion. These are so common with other respiratory illnesses, it's now suggested at the first sign of any respiratory symptoms, you take a COVID-19 home test. If it's negative, try again in a day or two. Now, part of the reason it's recommended you take those tests within a couple days is that the medications that work against these viruses, for both the flu and COVID-19, if they're given within 5 days of symptoms, you have the best results. I'm medical reporter Liz Bonus. We'll throw it back to you.
Accusations of predatory and harmful practices targeting your kids. The new lawsuit the state is joining against Meta. Who will be held accountable? Fox 45 News pressing the state's attorney's office on what's being done to help a woman who just had her car stolen for a second time. Well, Fox 45 News is following live breaking news right now. Baltimore County Police say they're investigating a possible shooting at a Woodlawn school. The crime scene is at Edmondson Heights Elementary School. Police put out an alert about 15 minutes ago telling people to avoid the area. Again, we understand students have been safely dismissed. Again, a shooting investigation, and they say near a school in Woodlawn, not at the school, but a shooting near the school. Fox 45 News has a crew on the way. We'll bring you live pictures as soon as we get there.
More breaking news. An investigation is underway in East Baltimore after a car is stolen with a young child in the rear seat. Our newsroom has confirmed that child is okay. We understand the car was stolen this afternoon near Elwood Park. Moments after the theft, the child was apparently dropped off near Pulaski Highway. You're looking at that area. City police confirm at least one person is in custody. Again, a young child safe after the car they were in was stolen this afternoon in East Baltimore.
You taking stuff out from people that's really, really working hard. I didn't steal to get this vehicle. I worked hard to get it. And I need somebody to be held accountable for it. Whether it's the parents, something has to give.
In a city in crisis, a Baltimore woman demands answers after her car is stolen twice in a matter of weeks.
Yes, she blames juveniles as auto thefts continue to have a big grip on Baltimore City. Tonight, Fox 45's Amy Simpson investigating for us if this double victim will see accountability for some of those crimes. Amy?
Yes, Mary Kai, this Baltimore woman still waiting for her car to be recovered after that second theft in just a matter of 6 weeks. And she wants to know who will pay for these crimes, having a very real impact on her life. A victim of auto theft, not once, but twice. Tanika Gaskins catching the second crime on doorbell camera Sunday night. This Baltimore woman tells Fox 45 News she had just recovered her car from the first crime days before.
They constantly just taking the car. I just got it back on the 19th.
Gaskins' car was stolen the first time about 6 weeks ago, back on September 14th. Baltimore police recovering the vehicle that same day, here along North Charles Street, saying officers followed the stolen car into this parking garage.
It was only one way in and one way out, so that's how they got caught by the police.
BPD arresting two teen boys that day, a 15-year-old and a 17-year-old.
Really wow.
Gaskins sharing these videos of what her car looked like. A busted tire, ignition, and interior a mess. This victim also sharing some of what investigators allegedly told her.
It was in a high-speed chase. It was involved in a few robberies.
But despite two teens being arrested by police, according to this auto theft victim, it's unclear if accountability will come.
And then the other day they told me that they were no longer able to prosecute the case.
This woman telling Fox 45 News she's distraught over all of it.
They had a case against them and things of that nature, and they just told me that because they juveniles, they couldn't really charge them. And that's my problem. Like, it's nothing but juveniles that's out here just happening these kids in Hyundais and just taking them as if it's their cars.
Today, Fox 45 News sending questions to the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office about the pair of teens arrested. How long were these suspects in custody? What charges were these suspects facing? And why were these charges dropped? A spokesperson for the state's attorney's office replying with one line. Due to Maryland's shielding law, we are unable to share information about cases prosecuted in the juvenile system, leaving Gaskins still without a car and without answers. Another resident frustrated over juvenile crime in Baltimore City.
It's like a slap in the face. They can commit these crimes, get put on probation for about a few days, and then next thing you know, the charge is getting dropped, or it's just nobody's being held accountable.
And today, Baltimore police sharing more details about what allegedly happened when those two teens were taken into custody 6 weeks ago, telling me BPD's helicopter Foxtrot was tracking that stolen vehicle from above as it went into that parking garage along North Charles Street. That police report also saying that after those teens tried to run from officers, investigators also found an abandoned, untraceable handgun inside the garage. We're live in Baltimore tonight. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Amy, thank you. Police have arrested a 13-year-old girl from Baltimore for trying to steal a car in Anne Arundel County. Around 9:30 last night, Anne Arundel County officers noticed a group of kids trying to break into a vehicle on Cram Avenue in Brooklyn. Now, the suspects ran, but officers were able to catch the 13-year-old. Officers say the girl was holding a screwdriver and a USB cable, tools commonly used to steal Kias and Hyundais.
Well, if you have a stolen car story or know somebody who's been impacted by a spike in auto thefts, we want to hear about it. Just scan the QR code on your screen, tell us what happened, or send an email to news@foxbaltimore.com.
As the youth crime crisis continues, the calls for change in Annapolis are growing. Fox 45 News has heard from more than a dozen top prosecutors across Maryland criticizing the state's juvenile justice laws. Those prosecutors represent more than 5 million people, about 87% of the state's population.
Many are sounding off about two laws. The Juvenile Justice Reform Act limits children 13 and under from facing most charges, and the Child Interrogation Act prevents police from questioning juvenile suspects without attorney and parent permission.
Seeing like a revolving door, the same juvenile offenders over and over again, coming in the door and then going back out the door to continue to engage in their nefarious activities. There's not a whole lot we can do about it because we're hamstrung by the laws that are in place.
You can protect the child and also protect society. If we deter that communication, we inhibit our ability to address crime.
If we don't do something to hold these young people accountable, they will continue to run and almost have lawlessness in our cities. And we can't have that.
Well, next month, state lawmakers are planning to hold a juvenile crime meeting with DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi. He's facing questions about the department's ability to rehabilitate young offenders. Lawmakers will talk about juvenile justice laws during that meeting, of course. We also expect to hear from those frustrated prosecutors, law enforcement officials, and parents who are calling for help. If you want to contact your state lawmakers about the youth crime crisis, House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson, two of the most powerful lawmakers in Annapolis. There are numbers and email addresses right there on your screen. You can also find contact information for all of your elected leaders on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Maryland public schools in decline, according to federal test scores that show many students in our state have fallen behind the national average in math and reading.
From Mississippi to Maryland, there's a new state superintendent of schools. Dr. Carrie Wright comes from a state that's seen gains in student achievement. Project Baltimore's Chris Papps asked how she did it and if she could do the same here.
Maryland is really poised to do some amazing things for the children across the state.
When Dr. Carrie Wright was introduced earlier this month as interim state superintendent, it was made clear she's from Maryland.
I am a Marylander, product of Prince George's County Public Schools.
But professionally, she's best known for what she accomplished 1,000 miles away.
And I know that sometimes people refer to the work in Mississippi as the Mississippi Miracle, but it's not a miracle. It's hard work over a long period of time. You know, we're living in a new era in public education in Mississippi.
Dr. Wright, in 2013, was hired as the Mississippi State Superintendent of Education. And from the beginning, she stressed the importance of early childhood literacy.
I think you can identify little ones that are struggling very young. We need to make sure that all of those teachers have the skill sets that they need to diagnose those kinds of issues and the skill sets that they need to intervene at a very early age.
A large part of Dr. Wright's success in Mississippi has been attributed to a law passed by the Mississippi State Legislature in 2013, which mandated that every third grade student must read at grade level before moving to fourth grade. These laws are often referred to as third grade reading retention policies. They say if a student cannot read at grade level, they either repeat third grade or receive interventions to catch up.
I do believe that this is a golden opportunity for the state.
That law, which Wright supported, has been credited with helping jumpstart the Mississippi Miracle.
Why was it called the Mississippi Miracle? Because when Dr. Wright got to Mississippi, that state was one of the lowest performing in the country when it comes to student test scores. But not anymore. In many cases, Mississippi now outperforms Maryland.
According to federal test scores, in 2013, the year the law passed, Mississippi students scored on average a 209 in fourth grade reading, far below the national average of 221, and even farther behind Maryland at 232. But look at this. By 2022, the most recent year for results, Mississippi had passed Maryland and the national average. Mississippi now scores a 217 in fourth grade reading. The national average sits at 216, and Maryland has fallen way behind at 212. And math results for fourth graders are similar. In 2013, Mississippi trailed far behind the national average and Maryland. By 2022, Mississippi was just 1 point behind the national average, but had passed Maryland. In those 9 years, Mississippi student scores increased by 3 points. Maryland students fell by 16. Maryland does not have a third grade reading retention policy like Mississippi's, but it has been tried.
Literacy, I think, is a civil right.
In March of 2018, 5 years ago, Project Baltimore was in Annapolis as then Delegate Susan Krebs from Carroll County introduced House Bill 1311. This bill, just like in Mississippi, mandated that students in third grade must read at grade level before moving to fourth grade, with a few exceptions, like for English language learners.
First 3 years, you're learning to read, and then after that, you're reading to learn. If you do nothing else, you teach people how to read.
But there was no interest in Annapolis for Krebs' bill. It died early, never even made it out of committee, despite the evidence, like in Mississippi, where it appears to have helped students succeed.
Without literacy, our students cannot be successful.
And I do believe...
At Dr. Wright's first press conference, Project Baltimore asked her if she believes Maryland should follow in Mississippi's footsteps.
Maryland does not have a third grade reading retention policy. Will you be fighting to bring one to the state?
I'm going to hold judgment on that until I see what we have in place. I want to make sure that, for me, it's prevention and intervention. So whether we have a retention policy or not, we need to be intervening and providing those kinds of services starting at pre-K.
I'm Chris Pabst, and this is Project Baltimore.
Well, breaking right now on Capitol Hill, Tom Emmer is dropping out of the race for Speaker of the House. The congressman from Minnesota won support from a majority of the GOP this morning, but is already pulling out without even trying to win a vote on the House floor. It's unclear what comes next for Republicans in the search for a new speaker. The seat has been vacant for 3 weeks.
And new tonight, Maryland's Attorney General has joined 41 other states suing Meta, the parent company of Facebook. The attorneys general are going after what they call addictive practices regarding Facebook and Instagram. They argue the social media company targets kids and negatively impacts their well-being. We also heard from school leaders who say these platforms impact learning. The attorneys general are asking the companies to immediately address practices like algorithms that keep feeding kids content and constant notifications.
They are contributing, not solely, but they do contribute to teen suicide. And attorneys general are prepared with experts and other evidence to demonstrate the harm that is the result of the practices by Meta of luring young people to their platforms, addicting them, and creating the harms that we're prepared to show.
This year, a number of school districts sued social media companies over their effect on students. They include Hartford, Howard, and Montgomery counties.
In the blink of an eye, a child could get lost in the crowd or try to cross an unsafe street. Fox 45 News is talking with police about how to make sure your kids stay safe while trick-or-treating.
And on this evening's commute, it looks like it's beautiful, although you're going to need your sunglasses. Maybe open those windows. Temperatures falling from the 60s into the 50s, an October treat, but it gets even warmer from here. I'll let you know how close we get to record highs in the next couple of days. My Weather Authority forecast.
More breaking news into our newsroom. There's word of an indictment against Jason Billingsley. He's the Baltimore man arrested 4 weeks ago for the murder of 26-year-old tech CEO Pavel Lapierre. The city state's attorney's office confirms to Fox 45 moments ago that Billingsley has been indicted by a grand jury. He's accused of crimes in 3 separate cases involving Lapierre's murder and an arson and rape that occurred a week before Lapierre was killed. Again, a grand jury has indicted Jason Billingsley 4 weeks after the murder of Pavel Lapierre.
And we have a beautiful day here in Baltimore today. 72, clear skies. Toyota Asian Harbor Skycam looking great. Maybe take the boat out this evening on the Inner Harbor if you have a want or a need. It looks like a fantastic time to do it with the warm temperatures and some nice calm winds. Or just take a walk or a stroll. Enjoy it while we got it, because things eventually, they will be cooling down. Started with some frost this morning too, but we've really warmed up with the dry weather, almost like a desert. 30% relative humidity, so it allows those temperatures to get real cold in the morning with that shortening, daylight hours that we've had here. 38 degrees, the low temperature in Baltimore this morning, 37 at Laurel. Frosty on the eastern shore with temperatures in the mid-30s, 34 at Frederick, 33 at Cumberland. A Goliath recovery this afternoon, up about 30 degrees temperature-wise. We're 7 degrees warmer than we were same time yesterday here in Baltimore, up 7 degrees. Westminster really pretty much statewide, 5 to 10 degrees warmer than yesterday at the same time. So shorts and short sleeves maybe this afternoon. I know I had my short sleeves on. Here in Baltimore, 72 degrees right now. We've got a 70 at Cockeysville, 72 at Westminster. Temperatures in the 60s all the way from Annapolis up to Chestertown and Elkton. And it warms up even further over the next several days. HD radar showing a big weather maker out to our west, but guess what? That is where it's going to stay. All the storm systems next several days going to take tracks off to our north and our west. That leaves us with sunshine and the warmer weather. Look at these temperatures all across. This is ridiculous. Temperatures all across most of the United States until you get into some of the wintry weather in the Pacific Northwest and the Intermountain West in the 70s and low in mid 80s. And here it comes. I think temperatures may be threatening 80 degrees over the next several days after tomorrow. Out in the tropics, there's Tammy. That's a Category 1 hurricane. Looks like that thing turns extratropical, although still tropical storm strength, as it makes a push toward Bermuda over the next several days, but no impacts here. Now, Future Scan says overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, falling through the 50s, back down into the 40s, not the 30s like we saw this morning likely. And then by tomorrow, midday and afternoon, there you go. Great outdoor lunch weather. Get outside, play with the kids after work, after school. Gonna have some really nice weather on tap. Chilly for tonight, 43 clear skies. Tomorrow, gorgeous day, 75. And there you go. 1, 2, 3 days of potential record-threatening warmth, upper 70s and low to mid 80s until the early weekend. To be sweating here at the pumpkin patch. 20% chance of a shower into Sunday and into early next week, getting toward Halloween. Temperatures falling from the 70s with spot showers on Monday, down to only 60 by Tuesday.
Well, stocking candy bowls may be a bit more expensive this year. That's because the price of cocoa is higher than it has been in decades. The cocoa being cropped this year didn't do well with hotter and drier weather patterns. The bad growing season could also mean less chocolate being made, so grab your bag for the trick-or-treaters sooner rather than later. Well, Halloween night can be fun for the whole family, but it is important to make sure your kids are trick-or-treating safely. This morning, Fox 45 News spoke with Baltimore County Police Sergeant Eric Knox about the steps you can take to make sure that night goes off without a hitch.
The best way is to always roam in groups, to have a parent in front, a parent in the rear, to make sure everybody is in the group and not straying away. While we want to keep up with the hot items with the costumes, we want to make sure they're kind of lighted. We don't want kids running around in dark costumes, crossing the street or darting out in traffic. Make sure you could buy little flashing lights or a reflective candy holder, just to make sure that drivers are looking for the abnormal flashes of light. If the little children have shoes that light up, I would put them in those to make sure they're visible.
Well, Sergeant Knox says you should not send kids out unless there is someone at least 18 years of age or older watching them. For more information on Halloween safety, you can see the full interview on foxbaltimore.com. Well, some of our viewers are already getting into the Halloween spirit. Take a look. Jen sent us this picture of her dog, Olive. She's in her witch outfit, all ready for the spooky day. And on the right, a whole family of pups dressed up as Sesame Street characters. That's really cute. We have Big Bird, Oscar, Cookie Monster, and the rest of the gang. Well, we want you to share your photos and videos with us this spooky season. To do that, just scan the QR code on your screen or head to foxbaltimore.com/chime in. Coming up at 5 o'clock on Fox 45, a car stolen in Baltimore with a young child in the rear seat. The arrest made tonight. And baseball fans get another Game 7 tonight. We look ahead to the matchup that will decide who makes it to the World Series.
The road to postseason baseball on Fox 45 is sponsored by Johns Hopkins Children's Center.
One way or another tonight, we will know which two teams will square off in the World Series. Last night, the Texas Rangers punched their ticket with a Game 7 win over the Houston Astros. The Rangers advance all the way to the finals after beating up the O's in the second round. Texas says they believe they'll be the team to win it all.
You go to World Series, it's obvious you have the talent, but you know this team has played with as much heart and determination as any club I've had, and they've all have, but it's just amazing how they kept getting up.
Well, not now. All eyes turn to the National League, to Philadelphia, as baseball fans get a second Game 7 in 2 days. Last night, the Arizona Diamondbacks won Game 6, 5-1. Arizona battled back after losing the first 2 games of the series to force this Game 7. The winner-take-all matchup starts at 8 o'clock tonight. And we are your exclusive home for the 2023 World Series. The Fall Classic begins Friday, October 27th. You can catch all the games right here on Fox 45.
And we are tracking the next weather maker that's going to be coming our way, but it does not look like it's going to get here pretty much, I'd say, all week long. Temperatures in the 70s now after some 30s overnight last night. It looks like tonight we're back down into the 40s and could be threatening record highs by the end of this week all the way into the weekend. I'm going to let you know how warm it gets coming up in a couple of minutes.
Thank you, Jonathan. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 5 o'clock, there's word of a grand jury indictment a month after tech CEO Pavel Lapierre was murdered in Baltimore. The details coming in. And Baltimore County Police are on the scene of a possible shooting near a school in Woodlawn. We'll tell you what police are saying next.
Live from WBFF TV in Baltimore, this is Breaking News.
To follow multiple breaking news stories, Jason Billingsley, the man accused of killing Baltimore City tech CEO Pavel Lapierre, has been indicted by a grand jury. He was scheduled for 2 separate preliminary hearings this week. He is accused of crimes in 3 separate cases involving that murder and arson and rape that occurred a week before Lapierre was killed. Again, a grand jury has indicted Jason Billingsley 4 weeks after the murder of Pavel Lapierre. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Mary Bubala.
And I'm Kai Jackson. We're also following breaking news out of Baltimore County. County police say they're investigating a possible shooting near a high school in Woodlawn. This is a live look from the crime scene near Edmondson Heights Elementary School. Police put out an alert telling people to avoid that area about 30 minutes ago. We do understand students have safely been dismissed.
More breaking news. An investigation underway right now in East Baltimore after a car is stolen with a child in the back seat. Happened this afternoon near Elwood Park. The child was dropped off moments later near Pulaski Highway. Our newsroom has confirmed the child is okay. BPD says at least one person is in custody. Again, a young child safe after the car they were in was stolen this afternoon in East Baltimore.
Breaking news out of Washington, D.C. Congressman Tom Emmer has officially dropped out of the running for House Speaker. It comes hours after he received the nomination. It's unclear what comes next for Republicans in their search for a new speaker. The seat's been vacant for 3 weeks. Fox 45 News will continue to follow all of these breaking stories.
Well, Baltimore police say a traffic stop led to the arrest of a man wanted for murder.
And that arrest comes as Baltimore sees more dysfunction among city agencies. A new Inspector General report shows the city failed to collect $44 million, money that experts say the city will never get back.
This money is gone. This money will never be collected, and the city is now out tens of millions of dollars that they should have collected. This is a repeated problem in Baltimore City, and this is happening because there are people that aren't doing their jobs.
Well, tonight, mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon, along with local law enforcement experts and community leaders, will take part in Your Voice, Your Future town hall to address Baltimore's top issues, including the crime crisis, dysfunction in city government, and more.
We have live team coverage covering all of our top stories in a city in crisis. Let's start with Fox 45's Alexa Ashwell. She's following that traffic stop arrest and joins us live with newly obtained court documents, plus a law enforcement expert's take on the arrest. Alexa?
Yes, right now, murder suspect Kenneth McKay is in custody thanks to an officer simply running a car's tags. A traffic stop leads to the arrest of a man wanted for September murder here in Baltimore. According to police, 37-year-old Kenneth McKay was taken into custody after an officer stopped a vehicle he was in here on Edmondson Avenue in West Baltimore. The purpose of the stop, police say, was due to the tags not matching the vehicle, a traffic violation that in fact led to the apprehension of a wanted murder suspect.
Look for people who are involved in criminal activity to interrupt what they're doing, in some cases to make arrests, even if they're not for serious offenses.
Law enforcement expert Jason Johnson says this arrest is an example of police feeling empowered to enforce all laws in the books, now that the city is seemingly moving away from former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby's laxed prosecution policies. Mosby had announced the change around the start of the pandemic, detailing her office would no longer prosecute certain lower-level crimes, including minor traffic offenses, drug possession charges, prostitution, trespassing, and open container violations. Johnson argued it led officers to be more hands-off.
It contributes an atmosphere of lawlessness, which devolves into violence.
It's something current Baltimore City State's Attorney Ivan Bates, after being sworn in earlier this year,
use the laws and the tools in your toolbox to do the job,
said would not happen under his watch.
Any and all laws that are on the books, you always had a right to enforce them, but as the state's attorney, I will ask you to please go ahead and enforce them.
The details of this case, he says, underscoring why taking violent offenders off the streets by any legal means necessary is so important. According to newly obtained charging documents, back on September 7th, McKay is one of two suspects who murdered 38-year-old Daniel Taylor. Here, detailing a man opened fire on the victim as he stood outside of a home on Pressbury Street, and then McKay stabbed him several times before both fled the scene. A violent and unsolved murder that has finally resulted in an arrest due to a stop for improper tags. Now, records show McKay also has quite the criminal history, with arrests dating back to 2006. He's facing more than a dozen criminal charges in this case and is now due in court November 8th. Alexa Ashwell, Fox 45 News.
Alexa, thank you. This year, 222 people have been killed in the city and 534 have survived being shot. While those numbers are down from last year, the city is facing a spike in youth crime and a massive rise in car thefts, including a woman who has had her car stolen twice in just a matter of weeks.
You're taking stuff out from people that's really, really working hard. I didn't steal to get this vehicle. I worked hard to get it. And I need somebody to be held accountable for it. Whether it's the parents, something has to give.
In our next hour, we will bring you that woman's story and her calls for accountability.
More dysfunction tonight in a city in crisis. A new Inspector General report finds the city failed to collect more than $44 million in bills over a 12-year period. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker joins us live to break it all down. Maxine?
Well, Kai, that failed collection was discovered during an investigation into a company that complained that they were never billed for right-of-way permits for years in the city. And now we know that that money, that nearly $45 million that went uncollected, will never be able to be collected due to the statute of limitations in Baltimore. Now, the OIG received that complaint in February from an independent company alleging the city failed to invoice them for right-of-way permits between 2019 and 2023, a cost of more than $245,000. The payroll division blaming the lack of invoices on the city transitioning to Workday, a new invoicing software, and short staffing. Inspector General Isabel Mercedes Cummings say they also investigated a company with a balance of nearly $4 million for permit fees and more than $500,000 in missed utility bills.
In this particular instance, a lot of it came down to very poor communications. Well, when poor communications end up the city losing money, we have to do better.
Now, the Director of Finance, the Department of Transportation responding, saying they have already started taking steps to enhance the billing process and make sure that they are communicating better in the future to ensure that this doesn't happen again. Reporting live in Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Maxine, thank you. Well, the city's failures in the OIG report add to a growing list of financial missteps and operational failures in city government. In September, the IG found city schools failed to make more than $5 million in contributions to employee retirement funds. Just months before that, the IG also found that more than $500,000 meant for student transportation was misspent. And that is not all. Just this year, the city lost out on nearly $11 million in federal money meant for homeless services. It was because people in that office didn't have the right credentials. And this year, earlier, the IG also found the city was charged $33,000 after failing to suspend phone service following the November elections.
Well, as we previously mentioned tonight, mayoral candidate Sheila Dixon and other leaders will answer your questions on crime in Baltimore, ongoing dysfunction, and other issues facing the city. Fox 45's Mackenzie Frost is hosting a town hall. She joins us live from that venue with what we can expect. Mackenzie.
Kai, I think we can expect to hear a lot of questions really centering around one of the biggest issues in Baltimore right now, and that is crime and public safety. And as you just said, we'll hear directly from former Mayor Sheila Dixon, who's looking to unseat current Mayor Brandon Scott. And this comes as we just saw a letter that was written by Councilman Eric Costello directed at the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, Anthony Barksdale. In the letter, the councilman details a violent assault that he says took place earlier this morning in the Otterbein neighborhood. And in the letter, he talks about this assault comes on the heels of nearly 50 other similar incidents that took place over the weekend across Baltimore. And we know that the city has seen an increase, a massive increase in car thefts, as well as a rise in those violent assaults that we're hearing time and time again. So I'm sure that the audience members, as well as the members of the panel, will talk about what they want to see change from the leaders inside City Hall, as well as from the Baltimore Police Department. Kai?
And Mackenzie, whether we're talking about juvenile crime in terms of gun violence or cars being stolen, will that discussion come up tonight?
Yeah. I have no doubt that it will. It seems like those two conversations are intertwined, especially when we talk about that rise in juvenile crime. We heard from City State's Attorney Ivan Bates just yesterday talk about that, especially being a concern. He mentioned those comments after the sentencing of Tavon Scott.
We have to hold young people accountable when they do violent actions. This isn't something that any of us ever want to do, but unfortunately something we have to do. Hopefully the message is loud and clear. Young people, if you're going to grab an illegal handgun and use that illegal handgun, you can and you will go to prison.
Again, that town hall includes former Mayor Sheila Dixon, along with the president of Maryland FOP, Clyde Boatwright, and the former chief judge of Baltimore City Circuit Court, Wanda Hurd. It starts at 7 o'clock here at the Bilingual Christian Church of Baltimore. And if you didn't submit your questions earlier, you can still come down here and ask your questions in person. We're scheduled to have this town hall last for 90 minutes, so there will be plenty of time for audience participation. We should also point out that we did invite Mayor Brandon Scott to participate in tonight's discussion, but he ignored several of our invitations. We're live tonight. Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. And that brings us to our question of the day. Do you have confidence in Mayor Brandon Scott to fix the issues facing the city? To make your voice heard, go to our website, foxbaltimore.com/vote.
The death toll in Gaza rises as Israel continues to plan for a possible ground invasion.
The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza reports more than 5,000 Palestinians have died, which it says includes around 2,000 minors. The latest death toll comes after Israel launched more airstrikes as a lead up to the potential ground assault. That includes the airstrike that hit a residential building next to a hospital, which killed at least 7 people. The U.S. is advising Israel to delay in the invasion in order to continue hostage negotiations with Hamas. So far, 4 captives have been released.
Well, this includes an 85-year-old grandmother who says she, quote, went through hell when she was kidnapped by the Palestinian militant group on October 7th. She says she was abducted by gunmen on motorbikes after they broke into her home. The woman says she was held in tunnels, but she was given medical care and not harmed. She has accused the Israeli military, actually, and intelligence services of not taking threats from Hamas seriously. She said Hamas burned fields and sent fire balloons as warnings weeks before the raids. Her husband is still being held hostage.
As leaders work to ensure the release of hostages, an Israeli airline is putting pictures of the individuals who are missing or who have been taken hostage on plane seats as a symbol of hope for their safe return. More than 200 hostages are still believed to be trapped in Gaza. Well, Fox 45 News is partnering with Magen David Adom for Sinclair Cares humanitarian relief for Israel. Magen David Adom is the Red Cross affiliate providing emergency medical aid for people of Israel. You can scan the QR code on your screen or go to sinclaircares.com. Still ahead, major campuses across the country lose major funding as the war in Israel continues. Why high-profile donors are pulling back.
But first, tonight, we officially set the stage for the 2023 World Series. We're breaking down the highlights ahead of tonight's big matchup.
And this is the time if you want to do some outdoor workouts. Temperature is going to be gorgeous this evening. Temperatures falling through the 60s at 6 p.m. and down to about 60 at 8. We do have some rain in our forecast and an eventual cool down. I'll let you know when it gets here and if it impacts your Halloween and your weekend plans. That's in my Weather Authority forecast.
Fox 45 News, winner of 16 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined. The road through postseason baseball on Fox 45 is sponsored by Johns Hopkins Children's Center.
Congrats on wearing the horns in Texas and going to the World Series.
It is official. The Texas Rangers are heading to the World Series. Last night, they won the ALCS over the Houston Astros. Final score 11-4. This was the first elimination game in the 2023 postseason. The Rangers will play on Friday in Game 1 of the World Series.
This team, as I said, it's been an honor to watch them, and so it's great to be here. It's unreal that I'm here, to be honest. I mean, I was sitting at the house for 3 years, and to think here I am going to the World Series. Yeah, that's special, but it's more about them and trying to find a way to get a ring for those guys.
He wiped all that champagne off his eyes. On a National League side, the Phillies, the Diamondbacks are all tied up in the NLCS, meaning they are heading to Game 7 tonight to see who will play in the World Series. This is the first time in franchise history the Phillies will play in a Game 7 playoff game. Now, if they win, they will be making back-to-back World Series appearances. First pitch, 8:07 tonight in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it's going to be all hands on deck. It's going to be fight, scratch, claw, do whatever you can to score a run, find a way to get outs, find a way to move up an extra 90 feet, anything that you can.
It was a much cleaner game. It was very close to a Diamondback type of a baseball game. There are some things we have to clean up, and we will. But I was very pleased overall with the effort, and I think the crowd was out of it, and we just started to make those statements, and I was very happy about it.
Remember, you can catch all the World Series action right here on Fox 45. Starts Friday with Game 1. First pitch just after 8. World Series coverage starts at 7 right here on Fox 45, your exclusive home for the 2023 World Series. And no matter what team you are cheering for this season, we hope it's the O's. We do want to see how you're celebrating. Just send your pictures and videos through Chime In. To get started, scan the QR code on your screen. It'll take you to foxbaltimore.com/chime-in. It's powered by Stackla.
My gosh, talk about a temperature recovery going up from 38 this morning to 72 for a high thus far this afternoon. That's about a 34-degree temperature rise, and a major warming trend continues next several days. Continued dry skies, so sunshine is going to stay. A weather maker to come this weekend. Potentially could have a shower by Sunday, and then we'll have to watch very close to Halloween. There could be some showers as well. But on Halloween especially, going to see, it looks like, a major cool down once again. 69 right now. Mile 1 Tascam, as the sun now kind of begins to go back down again. So after that high of 72, we're back on the fall. Winds out of the southeast at 8. Gorgeous with the fall colors in the background. Humidity 45%. Just feeling really nice after this cold low of 38 here in Baltimore this morning. A lot of folks, not everybody, but a lot of folks seeing their first patchy frost, at least of the season. Some of the scrapers out, I know, on the eastern shore. Temperatures in the mid-30s there. Hagerstown at 39 and 33 at Cumberland. Won't be as cold tonight when you wake up tomorrow morning. 5 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago here in Baltimore. 24-hour change of up about 10 degrees or so at Westminster, and 5 to 10 degrees warmer along the eastern shore. Right now, 69 Baltimore, 69 at Cockeysville. 72 at Westminster along the eastern shore, mid to upper 60s. HD radar clean and clear until you get off to our north and west from Minneapolis back to Wichita, and then you enter winter. We've got some winter storm warnings all the way up into the Intermountain West, but that's not getting anywhere near us for any time in the foreseeable future. We've got fair weather high pressure as our weather maker, and the pattern going to take all of the systems off to our north and west the next several days. That's going to force the warmth in all the way through tomorrow and beyond, really all the way into the weekend. Could even threaten records as we head towards the end of the week. Now, out in the tropics, there's, Hurricane Tammy. Looks like it's not really going to impact a whole lot of folks as a hurricane, though. I think it becomes a tropical storm and eventually an extratropical system as it makes its way potentially toward Bermuda over the next several days. Around here, though, we'll just be concerned with warmer temperatures. Clear skies overnight. Temperatures do settle back down into the 40s, not as cold or frosty as we saw this morning. And then tomorrow afternoon, just an absolute winter, mid to upper 70s there. 43 clear skies, chilly tonight. Tomorrow looking good, 75, and your 7-day forecast, we're at 79, 81, 85 respectively here Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Just gorgeous days, and really going to be threatening record highs. Almost too warm for this time of year, right? 77, a stray shower on Sunday. Better chance of spot showers Monday. Hopefully those pull out just in time for Halloween on Tuesday, with the high temperatures only near 60. Jacket with the costumes by then.
Jonathan, thank you. Breaking tonight, Congressman Tom Emmer drops out of the race for Speaker even before a vote on the floor. Straight ahead, we have new information from Washington.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, details on the latest high-profile person to cut ties with Harvard University over the school's response to the Israel-Hamas war.
Elite universities continue to deal with backlash from those unhappy with their response to the Israeli-Hamas war. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins has the story.
And I'm happy to report
former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, the latest influential individual to cut ties with Harvard University.
I wrestled with this decision. I didn't take it lightly, but I thought it was important to take a stand.
Hogan withdrawing from the school's fellowship program, calling leadership's failure to forcefully denounce the anti-Israel statement signed by more than 30 student groups a moral stain on the university.
To not come out and forcefully say that this was wrong, and to celebrate and congratulate and cheer for the terrorist acts, I think it was pretty outrageous.
Senator Mitt Romney signing an open letter from Harvard alum to university leadership, slamming what they call a meteoric rise in anti-Semitism on campus.
Big donors with similar grievances continue to close their checkbooks to places like Harvard and the University of Pennsylvania over anti-Semitism on campus.
The University of Pennsylvania dealing with the biggest donor revolt. Mega donor and UPenn alum Mark Rowan writing a piece for Jewish Insider claiming UPenn lost out on more than $150 million in donations last year because of their policies. Anti-Israel protests continue to take over the hallways at Harvard. Liberal commentator Bill Maher adding this take.
There are few, if any, positives to come out of what happened in Israel, but one of them is opening America's eyes to how higher education has become indoctrination into a stew of bad ideas.
A newly published Harvard-Harris poll shows nearly half of college-aged Americans, those between 18 and 24 years old, said they side with Hamas, a designated terrorist organization, over Israel in the conflict. I'm Kayla Gaskins reporting.
Coming up after the break, back to breaking news out of Baltimore County, where police are investigating a shooting near an elementary school.
I'm Atrell Nishar on Capitol Hill with why Republicans' latest nominee for Speaker of the House only lasted a matter of hours.
Fox 45 News continues to follow the breaking news out of Baltimore County this afternoon, where police are responding to a shooting near Edmondson Heights Elementary School. About an hour ago, police put out an alert about their investigation. And you can see crime scene tape surrounding the playground by the school. We also see police crews there. Our newsroom working to get more details, but police say the students were dismissed safely. Again, a shooting investigation by a Woodlawn Elementary School. We'll pass any information we get to you right here and, of course, online at foxbaltimore.com.
It's been another whirlwind day for House Republicans as they search for a new speaker.
In the last hour, we learned Majority Whip Tom Emmer has dropped out of the race. He initially won the nomination just hours earlier.
National correspondent Atrell Nishar reports.
For the fourth time, House Republicans are back to square one on choosing a new House Speaker. Majority Whip Tom Emmer's time as the nominee was by far the shortest after Majority Leader Steve Scalise and Congressman Jim Jordan also failed to garner enough support, and that may have had something to do with former President Trump.
As Republicans deliberated Tuesday, Trump weighed in on Truth Social, calling Emmer a Republican in name only, out of touch with Republican voters, and, quote, he is saying that he is pro-Trump all the way, but who can ever be sure? Others objecting to Emmer over his voting history on same-sex marriage and government spending.
I can't go along with putting one of the most moderate members of the entire Republican conference in the Speaker's chair.
Tuesday marked 21 days since the House had a Speaker.
The chair declares the House in recess, subject to the call of the chair.
Republicans are long past hiding their irritation.
I think they're worn out, they're tired. I think the country is frustrated by it. The conference is frustrated by it.
At this point, no one in the party can say confidently who among them can get 217 votes on the House floor. Before Emmer dropped out, former Speaker Kevin McCarthy sounded somewhat confident the power vacuum was almost over.
And if it doesn't get done this week? Oh, it'll get done this week. I thought that last week, too.
A speaker has not been elected.
Each day and week without a speaker is time the House could be spending on passing funds for Israel, Ukraine, the southern border, and Taiwan, and a new government budget before the November 17th deadline. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
And as a federal government shutdown looms, some are emphasizing the importance for the House to get their business in order. Fox 45's Patrice Sanders reports.
No matter who becomes the next speaker, they've got their work cut out for them. Rob Weinhold, crisis leadership expert with the Falston Group, says they have to move with urgency and leadership principles to restore confidence.
Right now, I think there's immense pressure. If you think about it, 8 candidates, a lot of political polarization at this point, and now's not the time to have a vacancy in a very, very critical leadership post. And you think about, well, what does not having a speaker mean? Well, clearly there's a legislative gridlock impact. The system of checks and balances is off. It's weakened, so to speak, because the post is vacant. You've got crises that are occurring domestically and around the world, whether you talk about the Middle East or some of the other, domestic issues that we're facing. And quite frankly, I think that there's a decline in confidence. Pew Research just came out with a study that said less than 2 in 10 people actually have confidence in the federal government. So the House better get in order, and better get in order quick. Rotating leadership posts is never a good thing. Unity, consistency, continuity in leadership approach and decision-making is really, really important. So whoever they elect, they must do it very, very quickly and appoint them and put them in place so the key decisions can be made for the good of the country. And that's really what the country is doing, is saying, hey, wait a minute, we sent everybody to Washington. Let's go ahead and do your job and make sure that you're protecting the interests of the United States, because right now the perception is that may not be happening.
And we'll wait to see what happens. Patrice Sanders, Fox 45 News.
Back to that breaking news out of Baltimore County. Police are responding to a shooting near Edmondson Heights Elementary School. Law enforcement is addressing that. Let's listen in right now with Joy LaPola.
It's over in the front of the building. This happened back in the playground, which is a good distance away.
So all the students are safe, accounted for?
All the students who attend the elementary school are safe. There were no problems with dismissal today.
Is this property of the school? Playground property of the school?
I believe so. I would defer to the school system, but it is the playground.
And you're asking for folks to look at their own home surveillance. Do you mind giving us an area where people should be looking up? Of course,
I would just say in this general area.
Okay.
Because again, at this point, we're trying to piece together exactly what transpired here. So if someone checks their Ring doorbell video and maybe they'll see someone running by or something that catches their attention. We're just asking that if someone sees something suspicious or finds something suspicious, that they please contact us.
Was the victim robbed?
At this point, we're not ruling anything out.
Do we know how they did?
All right, spokesperson for Baltimore County Police, Joy LaPola Stewart, speaking on that shooting that happened in the Woodlawn area near a school. Baltimore County Police are investigating, and they are now asking anyone who may have surveillance cameras attached to their homes to review them and see if they have seen anything in that specific area.
A Baltimore woman demanding answers tonight after her car is stolen twice in just a matter of weeks.
She's blaming juveniles as auto thefts continue to have a heavy grip on the city of Baltimore.
Tonight, Fox 45's Amy Simpson is investigating if this double victim will see accountability for those crimes. Amy?
Yes, Kai just said it there. This woman's story really speaking to the grip that auto thefts have on Baltimore City right now. This woman's car stolen twice in just the last 6 weeks. And according to Baltimore police, 2 teen boys were arrested after that first theft back in September. BPD said the teens were arrested after allegedly ditching the stolen car at a parking garage and trying to run from officers. Police said they also found an illegal, untraceable gun abandoned inside that parking garage. But despite those arrests, according to this victim, accountability might not happen.
And then the other day they told me that they were no longer able to prosecute the case. They had a case against them and things of that nature, and they just told me that because they juveniles, they couldn't really charge them. And that's my problem. Like, it's nothing but juveniles that's out here just hopping in these kids and Hyundais and just taking them as if it's their cars.
You can hear her frustration. Amy, what are we learning about the status of the case against these teen suspects?
Yeah, she tells me she's distraught, and today trying to learn more about what's going on with this case. We took questions directly to the Baltimore City State's Attorney's Office, asking a few things, including how long were these suspects in custody? What charges were these suspects facing, and why were these charges dropped? And a spokesperson for the state's attorney's office responded with one line saying, quote, "Due to Maryland's shielding law, we are unable to share information about cases prosecuted in the juvenile system." Meanwhile, this auto theft victim says her car has yet to turn up after being stolen that second time on Sunday night. We're live in Baltimore. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Thank you. Meantime, police arrested a 13-year-old girl from Baltimore for trying to steal a car in Anne Arundel County. Just after 9:30 last night, Anne Arundel officers noticed a group of kids allegedly trying to break into a vehicle on Crammy Avenue in Brooklyn. The suspects ran, but officers were able to catch the 13-year-old. Officers say the girl was holding a screwdriver and a USB cable, tools commonly used to steal Kias and Hyundais.
It's not just Baltimore dealing with the car theft crisis. You're taking a live look at Washington, D.C., where a diplomat's car was stolen in the middle of the day from a foreign missions parking lot blocks north of the White House. Take a look at this video. It shows the moments thieves walked up to the car, pried the door open, and drove off.
Frankly, this is shocking to see the spillover of such crimes to come this way, just a few blocks away from the White House.
In D.C. this year alone, more than 5,600 cars have been stolen, which is more than double the previous year. If you have a story about a stolen car or know somebody who's been impacted by the spike, we'd like to hear about it. Scan the QR code on your screen and tell us what happened, or send us an email to news@foxbaltimore.com.
As the youth crime crisis continues, the calls for change in Annapolis are growing. Fox 45 News has heard from more than a dozen top prosecutors across Maryland who are criticizing the state's juvenile justice laws. Those prosecutors represent more than 5 million people, about 87% of the state's population. Now, of course, many are sounding off about 2 laws. We've told you about this so many times. The Juvenile Justice Reform Act limits children 13 and under from facing most charges, and the Child Interrogation Act prevents police from questioning juvenile suspects without attorney and parent permission.
Seeing like a revolving door, the same juvenile offenders over and over again, coming in the door and then going back out the door to continue to engage in their nefarious activities. There's not a whole lot we can do about it because we're hamstrung by the laws that are in place.
You can protect the child and also protect society. If we deter that communication, we inhibit our ability to address crime.
If we don't do something to hold these young people accountable, they will continue to run and almost have lawlessness in our cities. And we can't have that.
Next month, state lawmakers are planning to hold a juvenile crime meeting with DJS Secretary Vincent Schiraldi. He's facing questions about the department's ability to rehabilitate young offenders. Lawmakers will discuss juvenile justice laws during the meeting. We also expect to hear from those frustrated prosecutors, law enforcement officials, and parents calling for help. If you'd like to contact your state lawmakers about the youth crime crisis, House Speaker Adrian Jones and Senate President Bill Ferguson are 2 of the most powerful lawmakers in Annapolis. Their phone numbers and email addresses are on your screen. You can also find contact information for your elected leaders on our website, foxbaltimore.com. Maryland's interim state superintendent of schools, Dr. Carrie Wright, takes part in her first state school board meeting today. This morning, the board welcomed the new interim superintendent. Board President Clarence Crawford announced Dr. Wright has the full support of the board. Wright was previously in charge of Mississippi schools and was announced interim superintendent this month. Her first official day was yesterday, and she already says there's a lot to do.
It's really to get a handle on the blueprint and exactly where we are in implementation and each of the aspects that we're responsible for. I also want to hear from outside stakeholders on what some of their interests are. We want to meet with the teachers. We want to meet with the administrators. Superintendent's Association was here today, so that's certainly on my list of things to do. But also get a chance to meet with the legislature and to find out, what they're thinking about for the upcoming legislative session.
While superintendent in Mississippi, Wright is credited with improving student achievement. On her watch, according to federal testing, fourth grade students went from having some of the lowest test scores to ranking near the middle of the pack, surpassing Maryland. The turnaround is often credited or referred to as the Mississippi Miracle, though she says it wasn't a miracle, it was just hard work. Coming up after the break, another guilty plea in the Georgia election interference case.
An off-duty pilot is behind bars for trying to take control of a plane, hearing from the sounds from inside the cockpit and the fear from passengers on that flight.
And this evening, we're going to spend some time on the porch. Looks pretty good. Temperatures falling through the 60s with sunshine at 6. And by the time you're heading to bed, back down into the 50s, even some 40s. I'll let you know when we could make a run at 80 degrees around here. That's coming up in my Weather Authority forecast.